Welcome back to another video with me, Elite, your elitist guide. And we are doing another elitist takes video. So first off, I want to say thank you to everyone that left a comment, watched the video, and liked the video. It means a lot to me that you enjoyed it so much and there was such a response to the video. And a lot of the takes in this video are also going to be from those comments, as well as a few from a Discord server that I'm a part of. However, before we start, I want to address this one comment from Hans Groovers. And I just want to say, no, my opinion isn't important. That's why they're opinions. Like, this is my opinion, but, you know, if someone disagrees with it, that's fine. But on the other hand, I want you to understand something, Hans. It's my fucking video and I can do what I want. But also, I would like you to learn the difference between you are and your. Thank you very much. But with that out of the way, I hope you do enjoy the video. Remember to like and subscribe if you want to see more. Leave comments down below with your elitist takes, what your thoughts are, and any future content you want to see. I also do stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/infernalelite. I hope you come and watch. Now, our first take does come from the comments section of the last video by Blue QT8ms. I don't know how the fuck I meant to say that, but he basically is saying that not everyone deserves to learn the raid if you're not willing to put in the effort, which I agree with to an extent. Yes, if you're trying to learn a raid, you should be willing to watch a video or a guide or some sort of thing, and you shouldn't just expect everyone to carry you. However, you should be able to come into a raid and be taught without having to watch a video. It shouldn't be an expectation to watch a video beforehand. But I do see where he is coming from. So I have a partial agreement. It is a pretty elitist take if you ask me. But again, partial agreement because I can see his point of view, but that's not how it should always be. Now, our second take also comes from the comment section, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce your name, but it is that new players need to stop trying to learn cheese mechanics before the legit mechanics. Looking at you, witness. Well, do I have a take for you? This, my friend, is absolutely not an elitist take whatsoever. You see, this is a 100% reasonable take because shit like what happened with Riven eventually happens, because a lot of people, I'm willing to say, majority of people who have done Last Wish have never beaten Riven legitimately outside of Pantheon. And that is a real shame because Riven is one of the coolest fights, full stop. And it's the same with the Witness, where people now break his buttons by killing themselves with 2 Fox, and then they just do damage and they one phase him because it's so easy to do damage with like Queen Breakers and Arc abilities. But this is 100% not an elitist take. This is just a fact. People should be willing to learn mechanics of encounters and other activities before cheesing becomes a thing, because you are robbing yourself of the opportunity to enjoy the game, because you're going to have so much more fun doing an encounter legitimately than you are cheesing it, especially if it's your first time. You should 100% do it legitimately the first time through. Cheesing is if you're on a time crunch and you're with an LFG group and you're like, hey, let's just get through this. But you should definitely go and learn it legitimately and do it legitimately first. Cheesing can come later because you'll never get that first experience back. And if you cheese on your first experience, you're probably going to not see the raid, if we're talking about raids here, the raid in the same light. For our third take from Joseph Butler 5326, abilities do not need damage or cooldown balancing, they need negative side effects. I know I haven't included it in here, but he did leave another comment further explaining it. So if you want to go look at that, go to the other video and have a look. But it's essentially as it says here. He thinks something like, or if you place down a well and you're standing in a well and you get that damage buff, you should have some sort of reload nerf. You should reload guns slower, or you should lose movement speed, something like that. I don't think this is an elitist take. However, it is a take that would get you upset, or players upset. I wouldn't consider it an elitist take. I think it's actually a pretty good idea in a way. I've had the idea of something like Well of Radiance having its damage buff removed for a very long time, and it purely being a healing ability, because I want something like Bubble and Weapons of Light to be relevant again. Because with the addition of the damage buff and Well and Bubble not stacking, they basically made Bubble irrelevant and Weapons of Light irrelevant. So I think something like Bubble shouldn't give you that protection by itself. It should give you a damage buff, or you choose between which one you want to do. However, I also think that a negative side effect to using certain abilities would make the game more interesting and make your ability choices more impactful. So I do think this is a good take. However, I don't think it's a hot take or an elitist take. Oh god, I've gotten so many comments about Gambit because of that one Gambit comment I left in the last video, but here's our next take. Gambit should be competitive. Now, as I just said, in the comment section of the last video, Gambit is a really big topic and there's a lot of opinions surrounding it. So I'm gonna have this segment be basically Gambit only, but it's not gonna be specifically about this take. However, I agree with this, and it's not an elitist take. It is just a take, and it is true. Gambit should have a competitive mode. Or what he hasn't stated is it should have a competitive mode. In my opinion, Gambit sucks because it is underutilized and Bungie do not intend on updating it. It used to have Gambit, Gambit Prime, and The Reckoning, which were all great additions. However, they removed Gambit Prime and just kind of rolled it into normal Gambit, and Reckoning was completely removed. The Reckoning was one of the best PvE game modes that we had for a very long time, and it was up there with the Menagerie in terms of activity depth. So, by them removing those things, they basically killed the mode. Now, as for the comment, Gambit should be competitive, I don't think Gambit itself should be competitive. I think Gambit should have a competitive playlist in the same way that PvP has a competitive playlist. Because, as it stands right now, you either play Gambit or you don't play Gambit. There is no, oh, I only play Rumble or I play Clash. PvP has 6 or 7 different game modes that you can currently access. Gambit has one. It's no wonder it's underplayed. When you give us one version of the game mode, we're not going to play it. It's why strikes used to be so annoying, or not annoying, but boring. Because we didn't have Vanguard Ops. We didn't have the PsyOp Battlegrounds, the other Battlegrounds. We simply had strikes, and they were the same thing. We run through and you kill a boss and that's it. But as I said, this isn't really a hot take, it's more of just a take. Now, this one kind of connects to the last take with the Gambit going downhill because they removed the activities. I agree, as I just said. Though at the bottom here is the actual elitist take saying that raid exotics should all be some sort of better weapon in the game, and right now most of them are dog piss. This is a pretty elitist take if I do have to say so. It's probably not the most egregious elitist take, but it is an elitist one. And I do agree to some extent. Mainly because something like Touch of Malice isn't really good outside of its raid. Like, unless you're running Oryx, it's not a great gun. In the same vein, something like Vex Mythoclast or Conditional Finality from Root of Nightmares, they are really unique guns because they are the only of their kind, and I really, really like both of them. Especially Conditional Finality being a double barrel shotgun, as well as having the freezing and ignition effects. The same way with, I don't remember what the gun is called, but the one from Valve the Disciple, the pulse rifle that leeches void abilities, or that pulse rifle is really cool, and I wish it would get some sort of buff to make it better, or if not pulse rifles in general, because it's such a unique ability to be able to remove and put void abilities onto other enemies such as volatile rounds or suppression, but they don't do enough with raid exotic. So I wouldn't necessarily call this an elitist take. However, I would say it is a pretty good take, and he isn't necessarily wrong. But this is something that all exotics should be. All exotics should be extremely unique weapons that function differently from every other gun in the game. Now, for our last take, and this one might be a little bit controversial, this is a reply to another comment that said, Gardener's Salvation isn't a bad raid, you just suck at it. And I chose to leave that one out because that one's a pretty common take where the raid is pretty decent, it's just no one understands the tether mechanic. But this one is Salvation's Edge is the best raid in Destiny so far. It just soured because the average LFG is bad and people don't know how to put the square in the square hole. And he is absolutely right. This is not an elitist take, however to the casuals this will be the most elitist that you will ever get. Salvation's Edge is such a cool and amazing raid, and it deserves more props than it gets. And it absolutely does suffer from people not understanding the mechanics well. But in saying that, the mechanics can also be very difficult, especially fourth and fifth encounters. They are very difficult to understand. For example, Verity, which is the big one that everyone was confused about. There was an article that came out that flew around for a long time where the raid team, not everyone on the raid team designing the encounter knew how to do the mechanics, which is a problem when you're designing encounters. However, Verity is one of those examples where it's a really cool idea and it's a really cool concept, but just it kind of ruins it because of how complex it is. Once you understand it, it's fine. But this isn't a hot take, it's just a take. That's about it. I don't really know what else to say. Now, that's the end of the video. I do hope you all enjoyed the takes. Leave your comments down below, as I said earlier, for what you think of my takes, what takes you want to see next time, as well as if there is a part 3 to this series, which I kind of hope there is because this is really fun. I might get some other people to review the takes for me to be more interactive. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Do like and subscribe and leave me a comment of what you thought. I will catch you all in the next one. Be sure to follow the Twitch.